Welcome back, everyone. It is December 20th, 1941. We're here with another turn of Alphabet Command, our co-op game with Evoken and I playing as the Allies versus AndyMac, the War in the Pacific legend, playing as Japan. It's been a really interesting and fun game so far. Let's see what this turn has in store for us. Last turn we saw a lot of action in northwestern Borneo as we tried to destroy some ships at anchor there at Sambas, but this turn starts out with an invasion of Wake Island. Some battleships and destroyers bombarding the atoll here. This is kind of an expected move. I shouldn't say expected, but it's not a surprise. After Johnston Island, Wake Island was a pretty reasonable thing for him to go after. Looks like the coastal guns really just focused on one ship, takes 18 hits, heavy fires, heavy damage, and a few casualties there on the ground. A few more on unloading. We'll see if he brought enough to take Wake. A Wake can be tricky for the Japanese player, at least it is for me when I play as Japan. I don't always take it the first try. Usually American carriers or other things get involved. The Tuna sadly misses the Kato Maru. Probably that nasty Mark 14 torpedo raising its head there. And the Polak gets caught by anti-submarine warfare task force off the coast of Kona. Have several of these Japanese task forces in this area. S-112 also caught there. Does not take any hits, thankfully. That's one of our Canadian submarines, the SS-112. And even our French sub, the La Heroes, falling victim to ASW. Oh, some action in the Aleutian Islands as well. Oh, and he tries to escape here at Sambas. I do have a task force here. Actually, the Houston task force was here to bombard. Winds up running into this fleeing invasion task force. Let's see if I can do some damage. So yeah, it does look like we're able to engage here. Hopefully we'll be able to sink some of these ships, especially things like this destroyer. It'd be nice to take out. And some of these PBs. Sorry, the game is running really slow for me right now, so this may take a little while. It's a big task force that we're engaged with. The Shimokaze is launching torpedoes, and it is night. That's not good for us. Hopefully we can take it out before it does too much damage to some of our own ships. So far things are going our way. No damage to our ships quite yet, and it looks like we sunk our first one. The escort Saga sinks to the bottom. Oh, and the Tokutsu Maru also sinks. So we have scored first blood here. A lot of the ships, of course, in very rough shape because of the bombing earlier this turn. And we don't actually sink that much, just that escort and that patrol boat. Only taking one hit on the Paulding there. I do have another task force here in the Hex. We'll see if it reacts. Doesn't look like it. K-13, though, manages to put a torpedo into one of the fleeing ships. And it goes down. on to the night search phase. So yeah, it looks like they did manage to escape Sambas there, which is unfortunate. I had hoped I had another TF in the Hex on patrol. I was hoping that they would react and be able to catch them as they escaped, but that didn't happen. The low moonlight probably contributed to that. Some night bombing at Quangchaoan and targeting some of our ships at port, putting bombs in them. A night port attack. Those ships there at Quangchaoan, those they're really they're kind of dead anyway. There's very little chance that I can extricate them here from the South China Sea all the way to friendly territory. There's just too much with naval search and everything else for it to happen. A little night bombing of Kuantan. The Hudson group has been doing good work. And Sally's actually do some good damage there at Clark Field on Evoken's fighters there on the ground. Some more come in, but do no damage. And again. So doing some damage here, but also losing a lot of Sallies to flak. Hear another ship sinking sound. Hopefully it was one of those fleeing ships. And it looks like the K-15 gets caught by an ASW action, but suffers no damage, thankfully. I have some... and another ship sinking sound. Again, hopefully that's one of his. Houston goes back for another night bombardment. This time it doesn't manage to destroy any ships or land any hits on the ships, probably because they've already fled. And just for fun, these destroyers are bombarding Kaivang, not really doing much damage. It's low moonlight, they're destroyers, there's no spotting, so it's to be expected. More ship sinking noises. Again, hopefully that's from that task force that is fleeing Sambas. Some more bombardment and counter-bombardment from the shore guns. And this battleship there is doing what it should. That's why you put battleships in your amphibious task forces, because they tend to soak up coastal gunfire. Much rather take those hits on your battleships than your weaker forces, your amphibious, APs and AKs and AMCs and everything else. In any case, also assaulting Baker Island. So Andy is moving pretty fast with his forces, making invasions really all over the map. And we see that as he lands at Attu as well. So he has a lot going on here. Whereas Guktany seemed to really concentrate in just a few places at a time with overwhelming force, Andy is taking the opposite tact, spreading out his invasions and kind of just overwhelming us with the number of places that we have to be at once. Oh, there's my patrolling force there. Let's see if they can sink these AKs. I think they're going to be able to. This is the Durban and the Dragon, some British cruisers accompanied by at least one Dutch ship. Dutch destroyer there. Take out one of the AKs. Second one, a third one. I think we're going to be able to clean this up. Yep. nicely done here. So he has a lot of AKs, so these are not crippling losses by any means. But it is nice to get some revenge after so many ships were sunk at Pearl Harbor. So yeah, nice little pickup there. And they react again, I think, into one of the same task forces here at Sambas. Already sinking one ship. Sinking another. All these ships are, of course, already in pretty bad shape, so it doesn't take a lot to put some of these on the bottom. Sinking the AKs and things is nice. What's more valuable is sinking all these escorts, the APDs, the DDs, the PBs, because they're really valuable. They're what keep the task forces alive and protect them from submarines. So the more of those we can take out, the better. This combat could take a while, I'll be honest. It's a very large task force, and we may run out of ammo here before everything is all said and done. You know, this task force here, it was actually in the Indian Ocean heading away from the Dutch East Indies when this invasion force came to Sinkuang and Sambas, and I turned it right around and ran it back into the Java Sea. And I did that because I felt that, I think Evoken did too, that this push here at Sambas and northwestern Borneo was a little too far for the Japanese at this point. I think he should have taken Miri, Jesselton, the bases in northeastern Borneo first, so he had air cover. Also had more ships in the area before this invasion, and because of it we were able to capitalize on it. And the key to that really was Evoken's bombing, his use of 4-engine bombers to just devastate these ships at port. And of course he was fleeing today because he doesn't want to weather another day of those port attacks from those 4-engine bombers. So we don't sink as much as I'd like there, but we do put a lot of shell hits into all these ships, and we only take one shell hit in return. So I imagine some of these ships with heavy fires, heavy damage, they will sink throughout the turn. We're on to the day phase here. And the day naval phase, we'll see what happens. A little ASW action here with the Thresher. Casablanca puts a torpedo into a patrol boat. Hey, we'll take what we can get. I'm sure she's going to be in trouble. Yep, we hear the ship sinking sound. And Sargo, Evoken's getting aggressive here, going right up to the coast of Japan with some of his American submarines. Sadly, these are the American submarines equipped with the Mark 14, and they're not going to be Very good at it. So, okay, so we have some Japanese battleships here, accompanied by a CVE in the Hex, and they run into some of our HDMLs. That's really unexpected. And so this same task force runs into these two battleships and this CVE. This could be bad for us. Or maybe it's heavy cruisers. It's the Ashigara and the Hyuga, so just one battleship. But the Dragon says, no, we're out of ammo, we're going to get out of here, I think. The K-13 puts a torpedo into an AK. She's going to surely go down. Yep, we hear that. And it's on to the air operation phase. So, really interesting. I didn't expect to see those battleships and that CVE in the Hex, especially because we haven't seen any cap there. So, I'm not sure exactly what's going on with that. But we're going to find out. Lots of ships in the area, lots of planes in the area, and we'll see if we can do some damage or if he's going to strike us instead. You can see all the ships in the area here. Oh, and it looks like there is a carrier task force in the area. That could be deadly for our cruisers in the area. That did such a good job this morning. If these are carrier task forces, we could be in some trouble. Start off with some sweeps at Chiang Mai. And we're sweeping Sambas to no effect, just losing at MS-410. This time, though, we have a little more luck. Taking out 3 planes to no losses. Oscar sweep Singapore, but we're not going to rise to that bait. And they come in with a large strike force here at Quangchawan. Lots of zeros escorting. I don't know if we're going to be able to break through the bombers. We do. It looks like we're doing decent damage here. Still a lot get through, and that's going to really hurt the runway here. Let's see what the butcher bill is like. It hurts both sides here, so it looks like a total of 8 planes destroyed on their side and about 6 on ours, plus a few runway hits. More sweeping in Singapore and bombing of Kandari, which will probably fall in the near future. I believe it was down to, what, 0 forts last time, so it's not long for the world. Sally's come in, this time unescorted, and sadly we're not able to destroy as many as I'd like, but we do take out a couple, and Flak takes care of 1 more. This time an Oscar sweep, and Tojo sweep, and okay. This time, this must be that CBL or CVE there in this task force has those zeros, and they're going to clean up our I-39WH Dutch bombers, sadly. I think these are going after the port. Oh no, there's a naval attack, and they're doing a great job. Man, I don't know if I've seen Dutch bombers do quite as good of a job as they just did there. Luckily, I also had demons in the Hex on long-range cap at very high altitude, and they were able to kind of fight off the zeros a little bit. Taking out 2 zeros, we only lose 1 demon, and plant a few bomb hits here on those AKs. Nicely done. This time some Dorniers come in at low altitude, and sink. 1 ship outright and 2 more slip under the waves as they are attacked, and when that happens it interrupts their damage control, and when that happens the damage can increase and they can sink even if they do not take a bomb hit themselves, and that's what happened to 2 ships on this run. Here's that demon sweep as well. sweeping with all my demons. Demons are kind of the best early game sweeper the Dutch have. That's not saying much. But as allies, you don't have a lot of good early game sweepers, and so I tend to use the demons a lot in this role. They have good high altitude performance, good climb rate, and I have a fondness for the aircraft too. It's one of those little ugly duckling aircraft that didn't really get to shine in the actual war, and so they're kind of buffed up in a focus-specific. Not too much, but this version, it has its historical, I should say, its on-paper performance rather than its historical performance, which always kind of lagged behind what the manufacturer said it should be capable of. Anyway, we take it to 0. Some Catalinas come in. They should be carrying torpedoes. Yes, they are. Yeah, and 3 more AKs sunk. Tourniers go after this cruiser group, it looks like. Do not make contact, though. Hudson's bomb at Gandari. Don't do any damage, though. It's trying to soften up that... not soften up, but disrupt that invasion group a little bit. Hudson's go for the port, but nothing is in the port anymore. And of course we're bombing west of Chiang Mai and trying to mode knock these units so they're not in move mode anymore. Just slow them down a little bit. Blenheims come in. I moved them south from Singapore to the space right here so they could be in range and fly this mission, and they disappoint. Should never have moved them. They were useless. Honestly, though, all your early game level bombers are not very effective at naval attack, so the fact that my Dutch planes did as well as they did was pretty surprising. Evoken's going after the port with his level bombers, his 4-engine bombers, but of course there's no ships anymore there. I do the same with some I-39s and some Blenheims. Just pounding that empty port there. It's one thing, you just never know what your opponent is going to do. And sweeping here. Trade a BR-697 for a Tojo over Malacca. Oh, and this looks like a sweep from Kuantan. 24 zeros, and I'm going to have a tough time dealing with that. Yeah, they just clean up my cap here, and I lose 5 planes. Zero sweeps are just so hard to deal with early game as allies. Dutch bombers come in unescorted. Yeah, they have a rough time. This time, this group gets through, places a bomb hit on another AK, and 6 more come in. Missing though. Demon sweeping. And we're on to the PM phase. More ship sinking noises, hopefully again from those task forces fleeing Sambas. Let's see what kind of afternoon strikes we get here. Well, one on Fanning Island. Holy cow. So we know where one of these carrier task forces is. Just, carrier strikes on these little atolls can just be really devastating to the defending troops. And we saw that with that strike, 191 casualties. Lose a bomber, unfortunately. Can't make it through that cap. Same thing's going to happen. Oh, no. Somehow it gets through, but doesn't plant a bomb on anything. Falcons somehow get through. Go after the CVE. Sadly, I don't think they're going to be able to hit anything, but that's interesting that they were able to make it through and not get intercepted by cap. Its Catalinas aren't going to be quite as lucky. 3 still get through, but sadly their torpedoes miss, and we do lose a Catalina and a Dornier. 6 more Dorniers get through. Oh, nicely done. Dornier plants 3 bombs on the CVE Hatto. That is a thing of beauty. These Catalinas aren't going to be as lucky, and we lose one. 2 more Catalinas can then make it through with torpedoes. No, they were carrying bombs. Oh no, they were torpedoes, but they miss. I think that's it. So, what a day around Sambas. Pretty bloody and pretty good for us, all things considered. I don't think we lost much there, and we did a lot of damage. This may be it for Hilo. It is not. Somehow, it is not it for Hilo. And again, that's he's low on supply. He needs to put more supply there. We are losing more troops, but his adjusted AV is just not as high as it should be. Attacks at Guam gets a 1-2. Loses a lot of troops there. He needs to bring more to Guam too, or just do some shore bombardment. A little bombardment to disrupt our defenders would do the trick as well. Takes Luganian. Shock attack at Sinkoang still is not able to break through, which is good for us. Our forts hold at 2, which is great to see. Though we do take more casualties, a lot more casualties than he does, which is unfortunate. And he does have a malice to supply there as well, which is really good for us. To get more supply in, he either needs to fly it in or bring it in by ship, and if he does, that's going to create some vulnerabilities there. I imagine at this point, though, he's bringing in carriers and other things now to the area, and it's not going to be quite as easy for us. Attacks at Brunei, gets a 1-3. And gets a 1-2 at Jesselton. Surprised he didn't take those bases right away. Shock attack at Wake Island also does not go his way. Lots of casualties there. But of course he takes Baker. And he takes Kandari. There goes Kandari. That's sad to see. Both the units retreat, so they're still alive. I'll probably try to pick them up with PBYs, rather than have them just be chased through the Celebes. They can be picked up somewhere and do some good somewhere else. And that looks like it for the turn. So definitely an action-packed turn. Definitely lots of ships sunk. We'll have to check the totals once we get the actual turn back from our opponent. But yeah, exciting stuff. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the Discord. Take care.